Stop everything and watch this till the very last second. What Miles Wei revealed about Shen Yue and Dylan Wang has stunned fans worldwide, and if you care about loyalty, heartbreak, and unspoken truths, you need to hear every moment of this story. Then come back to the comments and tell us who you think truly deserves her heart. It started quietly, too quietly, the kind of silence that hides storms beneath. The filming set was unusually subdued that afternoon, almost eerie in its calm. Conversations were shallow, smiles were forced, and every glance carried a weight too heavy to ignore. Shen Yue moved through the set like a shadow, sensing the tension but unsure where it originated. Miles Wei had been sitting at the edge of the set, quiet, observing. He had not planned to speak today, but the moment felt too urgent to hold back. Dylan Wang was pacing near the corner of the set, phone in hand, jaw clenched, a storm contained only by a fragile mask of control. Shen Yue noticed him, as she always did, noticing the unspoken battles in his eyes, the tension in his shoulders, the way he carried pride like armor. She did not approach him yet. There was no need. The air itself seemed to hum with unsaid words. And then, from across the set, Miles Wei finally stood, walking with deliberate steps toward the center of the room, eyes never leaving hers. "Shen Yue deserves more," he said, his voice calm but carrying a weight that made everyone still. "More than anyone realizes. More than Dylan Wang is willing to give." The words cut through the atmosphere. Dylan stopped pacing. Shen Yue froze mid-step. Crew members glanced nervously, sensing the gravity of what had just been said. Miles continued, "We have seen the way she gives everything, the way she believes, the way she trusts. And yet, too often it is not met in kind. Not fully. Not honestly." Shen Yue felt her heart tighten. She had known this deep down, but hearing it spoken aloud made the truth undeniable. Dylan Wang had always been charismatic, commanding, and unpredictable, but Miles Wei's words framed everything in stark relief. "Shen Yue does not ask for perfection," Miles said, stepping closer. "She asks for recognition, for respect, for someone who sees her heart without question. And when that is withheld, it creates a silence that is louder than any argument." Dylan's eyes flared, but he said nothing. His silence was a storm in itself, a mixture of pride, regret, and something unspoken that even he could not name. Shen Yue looked between the two men, her mind racing, her chest tight. Miles Wei's gaze softened, but it did not lose its intensity. "I am not here to choose for her," he said. "I am here to explain what she deserves, to show that there is a heart willing to meet hers fully, without hesitation, without condition. And that is not always the person she thinks it is." The room was silent now, the kind of silence that presses on your chest and makes your pulse loud. Fans watching clips later would call it cinematic. They would describe every frame, every glance, every pause as a moment frozen in time. But in that room, it was reality, raw and unfiltered. Shen Yue's lips parted, but no words came. Her eyes shimmered with unshed tears, a mixture of longing, pain, and awakening. Dylan Wang finally spoke, his voice low, controlled, yet edged with something fragile. "Miles, this is not your place." Miles Wei smiled faintly, not mockingly, but with quiet certainty. "It is my place." The moment silence has kept her from hearing the truth. And the truth is, Shen Yue deserves a love that mirrors hers, not just admiration, not just attention, not just fleeting moments of recognition. She deserves more. Shen Yue felt it then, a clarity that had eluded her for months. Every small disappointment, every quiet frustration, every missed gesture of care that she had silently absorbed now made sense. The pieces aligned in her mind like a puzzle finally solved. Dylan Wang's face tightened, his pride rising in sharp lines, but even he could not argue with the weight of Miles's words. He had always known, somewhere deep inside, that Shen Yue deserved more than he sometimes gave, but admitting it would shatter the carefully constructed walls around his heart. The first murmurs on social media came within minutes. Clips of Miles Wei's words circulated online. Fans dissected every frame, every gesture, every shift in tone. Thousands commented, some applauding Dylan for his restraint, others lauding Miles for speaking the truth. And millions felt it. Shen Yue's quiet strength, her heartbreak, and the undeniable reality that she deserved love that was complete, unwavering, and visible. Shen Yue did not cry. Not yet. She simply stood, letting the words sink in, letting the truth resonate in every fiber of her being. Dylan Wang finally looked at her, eyes heavy, unguarded for a moment, and she saw what she had always suspected, a man who cared, deeply, but not always in the way she needed. Miles Wei stepped back, his mission complete for now, leaving the two of them in a silence that was different this time. Not empty, but full. Full of questions, of realizations, of the possibilities that came from truth. Later that night, Shen Yue replayed the scene in her mind. The set. Dylan's silence. Miles's voice. She realized that deserving more was not about blame or choosing sides. It was about clarity, self-worth, and the courage to demand a love that truly mirrored hers. The story did not end there. The next day on set, tension lingered, but something shifted. Dylan avoided confrontation, but his eyes betrayed unease. Shen Yue walked with her head held high, no longer waiting for validation. And Miles Wei? He remained a quiet observer, knowing he had said what needed to be said. Fans noticed everything. Comment sections exploded. Think pieces emerged. Hashtags trended. Shen Yue deserves more became a rallying cry. But behind the online frenzy was a simple truth. Sometimes realizing your worth is more powerful than any declaration of love. The question lingered, unspoken but palpable. Would Dylan finally rise to meet her fully, or would Shen Yue find the courage to demand it elsewhere? And could Miles Wei remain the guide without becoming the center of the story? Stay with this story. Watch every clip, every reaction, every revelation. Share your thoughts below. Because one explanation, one voice, one perspective has changed everything, and the consequences are only beginning to unfold. The next chapter will be even more explosive, and no one will see it coming. The next morning, the set felt different. Silence lingered, heavier than the previous day. Dylan avoided Shen Yue's gaze, each movement cautious, restrained, like a storm contained behind invisible walls. Shen Yue walked with quiet confidence, but inside, questions churned. How much more could she endure before choosing herself? How many moments of partial love would she continue to accept before demanding the fullness she deserved? Miles Wei observed from the sidelines, calm but attentive. He knew the words he had spoken had shifted everything. Dylan had been challenged, and Shen Yue had finally glimpsed what she had longed for but had never admitted aloud, a love that recognized her entirely, without hesitation, without compromise. During a short break, Shen Yue wandered down a quiet corridor, replaying every sentence, every tone Miles had used. She deserves more. The words echoed in her mind like a drumbeat. She realized the truth she had avoided. If she did not insist on being truly seen, she would remain in the shadows of someone else's pride. Dylan, meanwhile, sat alone, staring at his reflection. His pride wrestled with reality. He had always believed that love was demonstrated in grand gestures, in charisma, in fleeting moments of attention. But seeing Shen Yue stand steady, acknowledging her worth, forced a reckoning he had long postponed. Could he rise to meet her fully, or would his pride prevent him from giving the love she deserved? Eventually, Dylan approached her, tentative, careful, each step weighted with unspoken tension. Shen Yue, his voice faltered, softer than she had ever heard. There was hesitation, vulnerability hidden beneath layers of self-control. Shen Yue lifted her eyes, unwavering. "I deserve more than what is given when it is only partial," she said, calm but firm. Her voice carried the weight of months of waiting, of unspoken heartbreak, of quiet resilience. For a moment, the world seemed to hold its breath. Every word, every pause, every glance mattered. The tension was tangible, like the quiet before a storm. Dylan's expression softened, pride cracking just enough for regret and realization to seep through. Miles Wei watched silently, knowing that his role had been to illuminate the truth, not to dictate the outcome. Shen Yue had heard it. Dylan had heard it. And the balance of power, of attention, of love, had shifted irrevocably. The story was far from over. But now a new question lingered in the air, heavier than ever. Would Dylan rise to meet her fully, shedding pride and hesitation, or would Shen Yue finally step away and claim the love she had always deserved? Fans watching later would dissect every glance, every expression, every subtle movement. Clips would circulate online. Comment sections would explode with opinions and support. Shen Yue deserves more would become more than a phrase. It would be a statement, a rallying cry, a moment in time that no one involved could ever forget. And somewhere in the quiet corridors of their lives, the choices being made now would echo for weeks, months, maybe even years to come.